I'm here in New York City during a beautiful fall week, but guess where a lot of people from New York City are going to go in a couple weeks? They're going to be snowbirds and they're going to head to Florida. But I'm beginning to think that Florida is a risky place for people to think about retiring. Let's go for a walk and let's talk about why I feel this way. You know, as I record this, Florida has just gotten two serious hurricanes in 2 weeks. And it's one of the reasons that it's getting harder and harder for homeowners in Florida to be able to get homeowners insurance. And when you think about where you're going to retire, I think having predictable expenses is important. And for a lot of folks, you know, over half of people age 65 or older actually own their home. And one of the reasons for that is, you know, it's just a sense of security, right? No matter how bad things get, no matter how difficult things get, we're always going to have a roof over our head if we own our home. But, you know, just because we're not paying rent doesn't mean that there's not expenses, and there's expenses that are out of our control, right? We've got the maintenance on the home, we've got homeowners insurance, and then we have taxes. And you know what? All three of those are out of our control. And unfortunately, in Florida, those are getting more and more expensive. Many of the insurance companies are pulling out of Florida because of the high higher likelihood of having a major event happen. And then, so it's the higher likelihood, and then the cost to repair, right? The maintenance costs, inflation, wages are going up. It's getting harder to get people to do the repairs. So it's getting more and more expensive. So yes, you own the home. Now, what's going to happen with the state as expenses go up, as the cost to recover from these storms go up? That's got to be paid for somewhere, and so likely taxes are going to go up. So we've got kind of a double whammy going on in Florida. Actually, a triple whammy, you know, with the taxes, with the insurance, and then the increased cost of maintenance. So is Florida the haven that it used to be? You know, the weather's pretty nice 9 months out of the year, but they've got obviously a tough summer. And a lot of these homes for older people, the senior living facilities are based there. But, you know, the senior living facilities, they're getting more expensive, and as a new location gets developed, people want to live in the newer location versus the older location. So there's a lot of risk with going down to Florida. I think, you know, in my parents' generation, in fact, my parents went down to Florida, tested it out, fortunately for them, before they bought something. And they made the decision that Florida wasn't for them. Now, I grew up in Ohio, and they had spent their entire lives in Ohio. And so to go down there to a senior citizen, 55 plus community, that to them was kind of lonely. They missed their friends. So it wasn't for them. And the HOAs, in some ways, a homeowners association is nice because you know that you know what the rules are. You know that your neighbors are going to be following the rules. But, you know, on the other hand, sometimes it's not so nice. You have people that maybe like a little bit of control and like feeling like they have power. Maybe, you know, before they retired, they were in a corporate job where they had a little bit of power. And they miss that sense of power, and so those are probably going to be some of the folks that end up volunteering to be on the HOA board and enforcing the rules. The other thing that's really happening now is many of the HOAs have, when they own the building, they've postponed maintenance that they really should have been doing all along. And because of that, there can be very large assessments. So folks need to be really careful when they buy into a location in Florida to make sure that the work that was supposed to be done has been done, and to get a sense of that. And so you really want to look at the financials for that organization and make sure that they've been keeping up with the maintenance, because that can be a very large expense. Unfortunately, there was a building that collapsed. They had postponed the maintenance on that building to the point where the building actually collapsed, and that's when Florida said, okay, you know, we're going to require that these organizations report the maintenance that's being done, report the maintenance that's not being done, just from a public safety standpoint. And I think that's a good development. But for people that are thinking about, you know, here, as I said, here in New York City, a lot of folks are like, you know what, the winter is dark and gloomy and cold. Right now it's beautiful here. But in a couple weeks, another month, let's see, a month from now, we're going to be hearing Christmas songs on the radio for the first time, and people are going to be thinking, you know, it's time to head south. It's time to head to warmer weather for a while. But it may not be the best strategy going forward. Just like for many of us, you know, the world we grew up in is very different than our parents' generation, right? I've been a retirement advisor for over 20 years. And many people had the luxury of really having 3 legs or maybe even 4 legs to their retirement stool, right? I mean, we have Social Security, we have our savings, but 2 of the legs that are missing now is many folks had a pension before, and then some folks, and we can still have this, had maybe rental income or another source of income. But you know, for most of us, that 3-legged stool, if we don't have rental properties, the pension's gone now. For many of us, I think it's like about 15% of us receive a pension today, and most of us, if we do have a pension, we don't have a pension that's indexed for inflation. And we've just been through a 4-year period where, you know, if you retired just before the pandemic, and you had a pension that was for a set amount a month, you know, because of inflation, that pension's worth 25% less now than it was before. If it wasn't indexed for inflation, if it didn't have any increase, if it was just a set amount a month, it might have been sufficient for when you retired, but with inflation, it's now been decreased. And if you look at places like Florida that's being pounded by these hurricanes, where the cost of maintenance is increasing, where taxes have gone up and are likely to continue to go up, and then you also have the homeowner's insurance, right? Do you really want to be self-insured for a home that's worth $500,000 or $1 million? For most of us, our home is our most valuable asset. And if our home were to be damaged by a storm, it might be minor maintenance. It might be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, which in the scope of things is not major. Or it could be very serious, and our house could need major repairs. And do we really want to go it alone? So making good decisions like this is really important. And that's why I made this video up here, which talks about 8 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s in order to enjoy your time until we get to fly down south or wherever we're going to go to avoid the winter. So thanks for watching, and enjoy this video here. I'll see you in there. Bye-bye.